with experts about issues important to the Bay Area and get answers for you in real time. Today, we're helping you get ready for the holiday heat wave. With triple-digit temperatures on the way, we've got a flex alert taking effect in just 1 hour, and already a spare the air alert set for tomorrow. We'll check in with meteorologist Mike Nicco on what you expect or what to expect where you live and how to stay safe. But first, big news from the FDA and CDC this week, giving the go-ahead to the updated COVID-19 booster shots. But should you get one? And if so, when? Join us live now to answer those questions, and everything you need to know about COVID is ABC7 News special correspondent, Dr. Alok Patel. Dr. Patel, happy Friday.
Happy Friday to you, Kristen. It is good to be here digitally, and I will take it.
All right, so let's do this pre-holiday edition of Two Truths and a Lie, because there's a lot to cover. I think you got a special booster edition for us, don't you?
Okay, well played on that pun. It is going to be boosterific.
I love it. Okay, folks, just for that, Dr. Patel gets bonus points, and you've got to play along. So if you're on Facebook Live, take a look and help me figure out the answer.
Let's do it. Everyone knows how to play. Tell us which one of these is not true. I got a little tricky. Fair warning. Is it A, individuals can get the new booster if it's been 2 months since their last booster or their primary series, their last shot? Or is it B, according to CDC Director Walensky, the safety data for this approved vaccine is based off 600 million vaccines given, a previous bivalent trial, and data we have in mice? Or is it C, unlike the bivalent booster shot, the annual flu shot goes through a small human trial every year? Which one of these is not true? And I promise all of these are important.
Okay, I know the answer to this one. I am so confident I could answer without looking at Facebook and my brilliant viewers, but I'm going to give them a chance to play along. So I'm going to wait for some responses. Oh, Daniel's answer coming in, C. And anybody else? All right. I do think that Daniel is right and Janet is right. Oh, and all these C's coming in, because I think the annual flu shot does not go through a human trial each year. So C is the lie. Final answer.
Final answer is correct. See, I said I made it tricky, but I never said that you and our audience are not brilliant and pay attention to what's happening out there. So C is not true. You're absolutely right. So every year the annual flu shot gets remodified to match what upcoming flu mutation we will see, and that's how the shot is made. It is based off of a vaccine that we've been giving for decades. The reason this is important is there's a lot of comparison to the seasonal flu shot with what is currently happening right now with the Omicron booster, because this specific bivalent vaccine did not go through human trial. It went through a thorough safety review, which we kind of alluded to in choice B there, where the CDC said, hey, we've been giving out this vaccine now for more than almost 2 years, and 600 million doses have been given. And there isn't actually that much of a difference if you actually look at the mRNA sequence between the ancestral coronavirus it was designed for and this updated version targeting B4 and B5. And we can get more into that, Kristen, and we can get more into A as well in terms of who should get the vaccine and when.
Have you been looking at my questions? Because, in fact, that is what I want to ask you now, right? It's going to be out there, first of all, in how many days? They said next week, but did they set a date?
They did not say a date, but I will tell you the first shots were actually given this morning in New York City.
Oh.
And so it's entirely possible that we will actually have a supply of these vaccines over the weekend, but the goal was to have it rolled out after the holiday weekend. So I have not seen any specific updates about when they'll be available in the Bay Area, but I would encourage everyone to stay tuned and pay attention.
Okay, do you view it as necessary or optional to get this one?
You know, it's hard to actually call it necessary or optional. And the reason I will tell you that, Kristen, is because we know for a fact that what we currently have going on with regards to the primary vaccine series, those 2 shots, and the booster shot are well equipped in terms of preventing severe illness and death. In fact, according to data that just came out in June, anyone above the age of 5 who was fully vaccinated had an 8 times less likelihood of dying compared to those who were unvaccinated. And individuals above the age of 50 who had 2 booster shots had a 14 times less likely chance of dying compared to unvaccinated older adults, and even a still higher chance in individuals who had 1 booster shot. So they still work really well. But I would not call them optional either. I would say we have to completely and realistically hedge our own individual risk and realize that we don't really know what's happening this winter. we are in a much better place than we were the last 2 years in terms of natural immunity that's out there, vaccine-acquired immunity, treatments, and all of that. But I would still encourage people to sincerely consider getting this vaccine, especially because it is tailored to the strain that represents about 90% of cases out there.
And we'll be closer to the strains to come this winter, right? So it sounds like you would not want to face the fall and winter without it. Am I right?
Wouldn't. And I don't think people understand how astute of a point that is that you just made. Is if we look at Omicron, we look at the sublineage right now, if you look at BA1, which is what the previous vaccine trial was, previous bivalent vaccine trial was looking at, BA1 versus BA4 and 5, they're pretty similar in terms of their mRNA sequence. The spike protein is nearly identical. There's a couple little mutations that are different. So the CDC felt comfortable looking at Pfizer's clinical trial data for the previous bivalent vaccine option, which was the ancestral strain of BA1, and said, this is so close, about 1,400 people, to actually make a direct comparison to what we're going to see with BA4, BA5, and the ancestral strain. So that is how they were comfortable in saying that there's going to be a good immune response, and also that it is by far going to be a safe vaccine.
Okay, let me fire off some quick ones at you. Who should get one right now?
So individuals above the age of 12 are eligible for Pfizer, above the age of 18 for Moderna. And as we mentioned, this is 2 months after you completed your last shot. But advisors of the CDC are actually recommending that if you can, based on your situation and your area, wait a little bit longer. You know, upwards of 3 months, 4 months, you might actually get a better benefit. What isn't as clear right now is how long you should wait if you've previously had an infection, because if you've had an infection in the last few months, presumably it's going to be Omicron, probably BA4 or BA5. And so, you know, some physicians are recommending, some scientists are recommending that you wait a few months after getting a previous infection to get this booster. Timing is crucial.
What do you recommend? Because I do know a lot of people got it, let's say in June, right? It was going around. How long would you wait?
I would almost view a previous infection as somewhat of a booster, and I hesitate to actually directly call it a booster because we don't know how long your immunity is really going to last from a natural infection. We don't know the durability, but I would recommend people at least wait until you're done having symptoms, but wait a month or two. But honestly, it comes down to chatting with your healthcare professional because it does depend on your own individual situation.
No hard and fast rule. I get it. Okay, that's how it is, right?
Okay, wait, don't get it immediately.
Okay, what if you have never gotten one yet? Do you just go get this? Does it become your primary? And then would it be 2 shots of that for you?
It does not become your primary. So it is still recommended. If you are unvaccinated at this point, please go out and still go and get your primary vaccine series, those 2 doses. This is designed to be a boost to the prime. So this is designed to actually augment the immunity that you would get from that primary vaccine series. And Kristen, since you brought this point up, we are all waiting for the CDC to finally say that fully vaccinated includes a booster and it's no longer just the first 2 shots.
Okay, what about for kids going back to school? Would that hasten up the timeline for you?
What matters for kids going back to school is if they've completed their primary vaccine series, and we're still waiting at least 2 months after that. So I would not say this hastens up the timeline. Now, if your child, depending on how old your child is, completed a vaccine series and it's been 3 months, and you were saying, hey, we want to wait till 5 months or 6 months, I would say that hastens the timeline in terms of potential exposures. But remember, we're only talking about kids above the age of 12 who this new bivalent booster is approved for. So people under the age of 12, you got to do what you got to do. Make sure that your children have their primary vaccine series, they're boosted, and you're paying attention to what school resources look like, whether or not your child needs to be wearing a mask, and what testing supplies you may have just in case.
All right. Do you know if there's an estimated or risk assessment for myocarditis after this new booster? Is it the same as before?
It's unknown. And so, you know, when I say it's unknown, that some people out there might feel very hesitant of me saying that, but I'm being completely transparent. There will be ongoing human trial and safety data after the administration of this bivalent vaccine. But the previous trial, the one that I just mentioned, looking at BA1 and the ancestral strain from Pfizer, 1,400 individuals, did not show any serious adverse events. There were no reported cases of myocarditis in either group with Pfizer or a previous trial from Moderna. We do know there's a slightly increased risk of myocarditis, especially in young adolescent and late teen boys from Moderna. But again, you got to weigh that against your risk of getting myocarditis from actually getting COVID. And as always, if people have specific questions about this, you know, you chat with your doctor about that.
Okay. ABC News has a story today out about experts warning that COVID is becoming a mass disablement event that's hurting the economy. Can you explain that?
Yeah, I'm glad that we're talking about this because this is going to be an ongoing discussion, Kristen. So right now, what ABC has been reporting is that an estimated 14 to 16 million Americans are suffering from long COVID, and that's likely an underrepresentation. This translates into somewhere around 2 to 4 million Americans being unable to work. Now, people out there might be saying, what could potentially keep you from working? And one of the most commonly reported symptoms of long COVID is this brain fatigue, this inability to actually think and focus. So it's different than saying, hey, I'm tired right now. It's being unable to actually focus and do your job. And this is not only very debilitating for people, it's costing our economy billions of dollars. And, there was a statement put out from a scientist a couple of weeks ago saying that we need to be prepared, not only for more long COVID, but what could potentially happen long term with regards to people's underlying medical conditions, cardiovascular conditions, neurological, and all of it. And we need to make sure that our healthcare systems are ready for that, including our ability to work remotely, find childcare, and all of it. And I don't really know if we're ready for this yet.
Oh,
actually, we're not. There's no thinking.
Scary just thinking about it, but you're right. We've got to tackle that. Don't go away. Dr. Patel is sticking around to continue answering all of our COVID questions, and we'll touch on monkeypox. That's next.
Yeah.
All right, Dr. Patel, doctor's in the house, and lots of questions are coming in. Let's start with Brenda. Brenda wants to know, can a child vaccinated with Moderna get the Pfizer booster, I guess, for this round, or should they get Moderna? Or
are we talking about the bivalent?
Is that what you're talking about, Brenda? I hope you can clarify. Do you want to take a stab at what she's trying to say here?
What I will say is I have not seen a specific recommendation about mixing your boosters right now, and I would imagine that you are able to kind of get a different booster shot than what the primary vaccine series was. So we'll go back to previous answers we said about boosters. Get what is available for you.
Okay. Spencer wants to know, if I got a separate vaccine, how long should I wait to get my COVID booster? Oh, I'm going to ask that too, because I just got my shingles vaccine not too long ago.
There is no evidence right now that you need to wait after that, but I would make sure that if you have any local reactogenicity, so meaning if you feel kind of worn down, if you have a fever, headache, arm soreness, anything from getting a previous vaccine, that I would wait a little bit before getting your COVID shot.
All right. Karen says
that's primarily because I wouldn't want you to have, two adverse reactions from vaccines and not know which one caused it.
Yeah.
You just want to make sure that you're feeling good before you get.
Okay. Karen wants to know, I've had the first 2 vaccines and the 2 boosters. Should I get this last booster? That's where you were talking about the individual risk assessment and the timing of what if you had like COVID recently and all that, right?
I'm going to give her props, first of all, for having all her boosters, because we know her odds of dying are very low.
Yep.
But also, just depends when you got your last shot.
Okay.
At least 2 months after.
Erica says, love it when Dr. Patel is on the show. She doesn't have a question. She just wants to say that.
I appreciate it. Was that Erica? Erica.
Yeah, that's Erica.
I salute you and I appreciate you.
Okay, yeah, we did too. Brenda clarified. She said she meant the first question, she meant first 2 shots Moderna. She's 3 years old.
First 2 shots of Moderna.
Oh, I don't know if we have time to go back to, sorry. Brenda, we love you, but we have 10 seconds before we got to come back on TV. Okay, hang on to that thought, people.
6, 5 seconds, 4, 3, 2, 1.
We're back with ABC7 News special correspondent Dr. Alok Patel talking all things medical. Dr. Patel, you wanted to respond to some tweets today.
I always want to respond to tweets, so I just had to pick out a few I wanted to respond to. So if we throw them up, we can read them and we can respond to them, Kristen.
All right. Don't fight too hard there. Okay, but let's go ahead and talk about them.
I got to be professional with my fighting. So here's one. And this is a very popular sentiment right now. The new shot is going to be released on the population without any human clinical trial. They can't be bothered to produce even fraudulent data. It's going to get EUA, though there's no emergency. If you plan to take it, you may just deserve whatever happens to you. Now, there's obviously some frustration and there's a negative sentiment in this tweet right now. But again, we talked about why there's no human clinical trial data, because they're basing this off of what they previously saw with a bivalent vaccine and with 600 doses that have already been given. It isn't realistic to be able to get human trial data on this one right now with enough time. This is the exact same reason why there isn't a human trial done every single year for the flu shot. And Kristen, I think this is an important point to talk about, because we may very well see an annual COVID-19 vaccine in the same way we see a seasonal flu shot. They may even be combined. And right now, if we're still having 500 deaths a day from COVID-19,
Yes, we are.
those death rates stretched across the respiratory season may match what we currently see right now with influenza, where only about half of Americans are getting their shot.
Right.
Rant over.
I can't wait until it's combined into one shot and just give it to me once, you know, in the fall.
Just make it easy.
All right. Hey, how closely matched are human and mouse trial data in vaccines or treatments where both are tested generally?
Generally speaking, humans are not mice and vice versa. So,
Well,
you know,
some of us may be mice.
You know, I may act like a mouse sometimes. I'm okay with that. And sometimes we call my daughter Alora a mouse because she has that little squeaking thing.
Yep.
But, you know, but that's really an early part of animal testing and looking at immune responses and how something works. But you can't jump from mice to humans. You can use it as a point of reference in terms of safety, in terms of generating an antibody response, and then moving on to a human clinical trial, which is why when the announcement was first made by Pfizer and Moderna, they didn't talk about what they were going to do in terms of safety. They mentioned that, hey, we have some data in mice, which is not sufficient. This is exactly why the FDA and the CDC's committee, the Advisory Committee for Immunization Practices, really looked at the bivalent trial from Pfizer and Moderna, and I mentioned the hundreds of millions of Americans. So mice, it's not enough.
Don't forget about that. They looked at the bivalent data. Okay, big news today. The government's free test program ended. You know, you go on the website, order them, and they come via USPS. So that's too bad. And, you know, now that this has happened, where can people get their tests for free?
You know, people were told that today would be the last day to, I believe it's covidtest.gov.
Yeah.
But if you go to the website, it specifically says tests are no longer available because of a lack of congressional funding. And I think it's important that we understand that prevention, treatment, equity, it all still requires funding to have these things happen. And so anyone out there who's struggling to get a test who may need one, there's still local resources. If you go to the website, they have some links there that are helpful in terms of numbers you can call. You potentially could go to your insurance company, and there's still free testing sites available. Some states have even announced that they're going to continue a free testing program. But again, what the White House has repeatedly said is that they're saving some of this funding just in case there is a surge and we have another shortage of supplies.
Okay.
And Kristen, if I can add, this is a concern regarding vaccines as well. Not only with distribution of vaccines, but also with what the infrastructure looks like and making sure that they're given out efficiently. What is potentially going to happen if we run out of funding with a surge this winter?
Right. I don't want to think about it, but yet we have to confront that. Okay, so I just want to make sure the message is not, we're not giving these tests out for free anymore because it's kind of all over and the need is not there anymore to test.
That is an important message to get out, is that the White House was clear in saying, yes, the need, the urgency to get a test might be different than it was 1 year ago, 2 years ago, now that people have access to vaccines, they're hopefully getting them. But also, this is because of a lack of congressional funding, and the White House saying we need to figure out where we're going to put our resources.
Okay, before we let you go, got to ask you about a new colorectal cancer study. Really important.
And I'm glad you bring this up because, again, this is something that a lot of us have come in contact with. This is ultra-processed foods. This is a massive study that came out of the BMJ, a scientific journal. It looked at over about 200,000 people, followed them over the course of many years, and found that in men specifically, who were in the upper 20% of how much ultra-processed foods they consumed, they had a nearly 30% increased risk of getting colorectal cancer, even after the researchers controlled for lifestyle and your BMI. So, Kristen, when it comes to ultra-processed foods, there's a dangerous triad here. They're affordable, they're convenient, and I'm going to admit it, they're delicious. But they're also devoid of actual nutrients. They're high in sugar, chemicals. There's not much fiber in them.
Right.
And, you know, we don't need ultra-processed foods. They're inherently unhealthy. So I hope this study, in addition to the dozens of others out there, are getting people to pay more attention to the quality of the food they're getting and gets public policymakers to pay attention to the fact that we need accessible, affordable, healthier food options.
For sure. And this has me thinking. Dr. Patel, thanks for bringing it to our attention. Really appreciate it.
Thank you.
Have a nice Labor Day weekend.
You too.
All right, that's hard though with the triple-digit temperatures that we're seeing. We have a flex alert starting in about 40 minutes, and we have a spare the air alert now for tomorrow. It's a triple threat for the holiday weekend. We'll check in with meteorologist Mike Nicco next on Getting Answers.
Hello, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
The Labor Day weekend is almost here. Gateway, in fact, right now, as we look live in Santa Cruz for you, it's typically the perfect time to hit the beach. But if that's your plan, get ready for some extreme heat. We're tracking a heat wave that's set to bring triple-digit temperatures to much of California and the Bay Area this weekend. Let's get right to meteorologist Mike Nicco with a look at what to expect. Mike?
All right, Kristen. Hi, everybody. Yeah, a little bit of a reprieve today, though. If you've been outside in most neighborhoods, it feels much better than it did yesterday. However, that is going to be short-lived, as we talked about all week. In fact, look at these temperatures, anywhere from 5 to about 11 degrees cooler. So where does that put us? In a range where if you have vigorous activities, do them now. Don't wait until the weekend when it gets hot once again. Any outdoor chores, do them now. Do them through the evening hours when it's even more comfortable than it is now. Now, there are a few places like Fairfield, and you can see out around Brentwood, where we're at 104 and 100 and 101 in Ukiah. And that's because the area of high pressure retreated just a little bit to our east as an area of low pressure passes us over the ocean to the west and the north, and that's why we had this little bit of a dip. All right, since the last time we talked, good news for the coast into San Francisco. No more heat advisories for you. Right now, it's mainly the Marin coastal range and the San Francisco Bay shoreline that are under that heat advisory. And it also starts a day later. We've pushed it back till Sunday at 11 a.m. and it goes through only Monday at 8 a.m. But anywhere in this orange area, highs could be around 95 to nearly 103 degrees. And of course, outside of that area is where the most dangerous heat is going to be. But again, we've pushed it a day later to 11 o'clock Sunday, and this continues to go through at least 8 o'clock Tuesday. Solano County, it goes to 8 o'clock Wednesday. I wouldn't be surprised if the rest of us don't join Solano County, because it looks like this heat is going to hang around a little bit longer than what we originally thought. So that flex alert, maybe you're wondering, well, it's not that hot here, but look at the rest of the state. It is definitely hot. 80s and 90s in SoCal, the 100s out in the desert and through the Central Valley, and it's going to get even hotter in these areas over the weekend. So I wouldn't be surprised if more flex alerts are issued, as those temperatures will range from the upper 80s in Tahoe and then 100s everywhere until you get to San Diego, where the 90s are going to hang out. Now, if you want to go to the beaches, tomorrow is a spare the air day, unfortunately, but if you can get there, look at that, 60s and 70s, a little bit warmer for Sunday. You can see mid-60s to even a few mid-70s unless you're around the Monterey Bay, and then we're up into the upper 80s. Quickly want to show you the fire danger, because with hotter temperatures, the fire danger will increase. But notice as we go through Saturday during the evening hours, it gets high to even just a small area, very high in the Altamont Pass. And then Sunday, it doesn't get much worse than high. But what does that mean, Kristen? Can I have fires outside? Gosh, I hope not, because it is going to be so dry that it could spark easily a fire. We just don't have the winds, and that's why there's no fire weather watch right now.
Got it. Of course, the spare the air day, right? That's tomorrow, not today, thankfully.
Right. Tomorrow for mainly the South Bay. Well, it's a spare the air for everybody, but it's the South Bay and our inland East Bay neighborhoods that are likely to have poor air quality, and that means those that are most sensitive, the young, the elderly, those with, asthma or lung condition, COPD, whatever that may be, they could have the biggest issue trying to be outside during the afternoon hours when the ozone is the highest. But also the heat's going to come back tomorrow. So there's two reasons why you probably shouldn't be outside during the middle of the afternoon tomorrow.
All right. Just a little information on Flex Alert, folks. It starts at 4 o'clock. This is the third straight, right? They're asking us to conserve because the heat will certainly put a strain on power grid as everybody runs their AC. So, Mike, let's talk about some of the key ways here to conserve energy.
Sitting in the dark. I mean, really, we literally did that last night when I got home. We had all the lights off. We had the TV on. And that was about And of course, we were all using our phones, but they were charged. But the least amount of electricity you can use between 4 and 9. And it's just every little bit that helps, because our maximum, I had this pulled up, our maximum across the state is about 56,000 megawatts. And right now we're inching just above 44,000 megawatts. So, and that is expected to climb even more as we head throughout the afternoon and people come home, turn on the air conditioners or start cooking or try to maybe do some laundry or wash the dishes. Just, if you can, don't.
Okay, but what about the Labor Day barbecue that everybody loves? That's peak heat there. Don't do it?
I wouldn't do it. I don't want to sit around that heat and grill when it's going to be already 100, 110 degrees. It's going to be even hotter around that grill. But if you do, make sure you have some water or some extinguisher close by in case something does happen. You'll be able to put it out quickly.
All right. Thank you so much, Mike. Appreciate it. Of course, we'll see you back here at 4.
Okay.
All right. A reminder, you can get our live newscast, breaking news, weather, and more with our ABC7 Bay Area streaming TV app. It's available on Apple TV, Google TV, Fire TV, and Roku. Just search ABC7 Bay Area and download it now. We'll be right back. Thank you so much for joining us today on this interactive show, Getting Answers. We'll be here every weekday at 3 on air and on live stream answering your questions. You'll want to stay tuned for ABC7 News at 4. We'll have much more on the holiday heat wave and how you can prepare now. World News Tonight with David Muir is next, and I'll see you back here at 4. Thank you. All right.